You know, I've longed for the days where I finally move on to things that are a little bit more niche. I've made 2 videos on EDM already, and friends of the channel have already said that it seems pretty tame so far. But I'd like to extend a hand into the genre of music that can only be described as a fever-pitched dream. In Breakcore, there are only 2 rules. There's a cadence, and that cadence must be broken. Everything else is thrown into madness as a result. From a mind-melting experience that's induced from throwing everything that sounds listenable into a track, to whatever kind of sound you get from throwing an assortment of kitchenware down a hill at max velocity, Breakcore lies somewhere in between. And that is my fucking jam. For those of you still left over, confused or intrigued, wondering how on earth I can even begin to explain myself, I'd like to first start out by saying that this channel is mostly about emotions and other such empathetical mediums. So of course I'm going to BS my way into making that about this topic. Breakcore at its core is about songs that on the surface seems as though it's filled with random clutter thrown into a semi-coherent rhythm, but in reality it has a certain cadence that it's following, even if it's very difficult to keep up with, making it seem much more chaotic once it breaks that pattern. But the goal for me isn't just to enjoy the breaks as they transpire, but to also latch on to the current pattern being presented, each shift having its own satisfying result. Going faster, completely changing up the way the beat goes, or even doing nothing but pausing for an undetermined amount of time is fair game. These shifts happen gradually, giving a satisfying riff, or as random or as frequent as the music allows, which probably isn't for everybody who prefers a steady beat. Breakcore is often accompanied by a heavy amount of percussion being the backbone of the clashing feel that the music usually gives off. The perspective of a song where its only goal is to disorient has an interesting side effect. Rather than throw me off while I listen to it, with even expecting it from songs that I've heard time and time again, it shifts my brain into a hyper-attentive mood, clinging on to every chaotic shift that's being thrown at me. I'm a huge fan of drum and bass, a style of music that focuses on the drum line and persists throughout the song. Something that's essentially the same as Breakcore, lending a beat that can be consistent in its own disorderly way, but in a more rebellious fashion, playing it fast and loose with each drum. The point being not to follow along, but to guide you through a jungle of different paths that have never been seen before, keeping you on your toes to each shift of familiarity to the obscure, distant melody that you thought you were listening to. And honestly, I think journey is the best way to describe it. The artist Igor's style of music sometimes mixes Breakcore with opera. Yeah, you heard me. The songs come off as an emotionally charged, chaotic mess that arguably tells a story. Like Tout Petit Manoir, a story of a woman finding misery in the pleasure of love, with the opera keeping a steady pattern throughout it, expressing herself in loud shrieks of pain, as opera does, while the music around her seems to be breaking down and contorting back and forth, breaking the very fabrics of the melody being presented, with her lyrics and cries essentially piecing the whole thing together. It's very easy to feel what the singer is going through with each bellowing cry, making it less about a song with eccentric patterns on subsequent listens, and much more about the emotional journey that you can feel throughout it all. Something that may be hard to connect to in other non-lyrical songs, which are the majority of Breakcore, but latching onto them are often a personal journey all to its own. Filling in the gaps get easier by expecting the unexpected and giving into the theme rather than the cadence. One song can simply be about the day you've had, with each mess of a break in between simply explaining the highs and lows of it, while another song can speak to your life, filling in how some things you've gone through thus far may seem sporadic and chaotic, but still come together and create the thing that you end up becoming. But there's far more to EDM than just feeling it, although unfortunately I have no idea how to convey that because I'm just some simple elf thingy.
And that's where I come in.
Oh my god, is that YouTube virtual music review idol Triple Beppo?
It is I, the internet's least favorite virtual idol, a famous music reviewer, connoisseur of fine arts, a character of many names, Triple Butthole, I guess.
Wait, I thought your name was, it's screwed, I already paid you.
So, you want to know why the beeps and boops go hard? You want to know why people like to find abstract meanings in what is essentially the Powerpuff Girls intro break over anime girls screaming? Well, Hell, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I don't really know the science behind it. I want to know too. I'm not that much into music theory. But what I can explain is why people take this shit to heart, both in a cultural context and in a relatable one. From around the late 2000s until now, there's been an offshoot of the jungle/drum and bass community that's risen dramatically in popularity. This cultural movement is characterized by an emphasis on themes of depression, isolation, the internet, and yes, anime girls. That's right, we're covering...
Wow!
See, now you could argue that it started with specific D&B artists in the 90s, and I mean, yeah, you'd be right. For those of you who are knowledgeable about the scene, you can consider this a story starting like midway through the plot. Listen, I was only instructed by Blinkehyo to talk about Breakcore, and I was only paid with half a carton of shitty Nevada cigarettes, so we're just talking about Breakcore. And its particularly controversial little sister. Beginning in the late 2000s, a small collection of artists across various boards rose to combat the mainstream and express themselves in a way that only degenerate 4chan users could. While this micro-genre, dubbed lollycore, may have seemed empty and degenerate from an outside perspective, pioneers of breakcore like Rizoko, CJ, and Gorshit embraced it, and molded it into a vessel that could fully encompass the stories that they had to tell, anime girls and all. With releases from these artists like Gorshit's My Love Feels All Wrong, and Rizoko CJ's RRRRR and Dark Side, internet degenerates found a form of art that went hand in hand with the culture that they immersed themselves in on a day-to-day basis. For better or for worse, this style, accompanied by its inherent themes of isolation, loneliness, dissociation, and depression, dominated the breakcore scene from the late 2000s to the early 2010s. And then, with the disappearance of Rizoko CJ during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which is kinda ironic given the current situation at hand, but I digress, and Gorshit facing the trials and tribulations of life, breakcore and its subgenres faded into relative obscurity. People continued listening to the songs of old, and the songs Gorshit made when he came back. But it was evident to many fans of the genre that it was up to a new generation of artists to take the reins and move their medium onto new horizons. Many came and tried to build off the remains of the past, although the large majority simply weren't able to surpass the greats. Would breakcore, as a genre, ever find its champion to lead it beyond the lollycore phase? Shut the fuck up! Welcome to the modern era now. The crazy, dystopian year of 2020, when everyone's life got bad, except for me. It was great, dude. Drawing upon the sins of their forefathers, the new wave of lollycore-inspired and breakcore-inspired music focuses heavily on the aforementioned themes of depression, isolation, and internet neo-degeneracy.
Thin rubber bands on the meatloaf.
It's atmospheric, relatable to many people, and most definitely edgy. Artists like Sewerslvt blew up significantly in the year of 2020, and encapsulated these themes while catering to an audience of newly created NEETs who were stuck at home because of the whole boohoo kung flu sickness type deal. Alright, now, love or hate Sewerslvt, yes, I know what she did, I'm making a video on all that shit, I know I really don't want to either. This 2020 explosion is really what propelled breakcore back into the limelight. Many artists inspired by Sewerslvt and her predecessors are now trudging onward, with their newly inspired love for this really chaotic and obscure genre. And, as much as I hate to admit it, social media platforms like TikTok were able to introduce the genre to a whole new generation of listeners. Oh my freaking god, you're actually mentally disabled. You forgot to say why people even like it, dude. That's literally what you're on this video for. I was getting there, dude. Just chill out. Basically, I'll put it like this. This context for breakcore, of it being an internet-inspired, degenerate trash fire with insane BPMs and dark thematic elements, is modern breakcore's current appeal. Much of the modern breakcore scene is inspired by the lollycore subgenre, and is essentially an amalgamation of everything that 4chan users think is deep and edgy. Or would-be 4chan users, I guess, nowadays. These elements combine in a fashion that's relatable for many terminally online people such as myself, and the music itself is truly able to encompass the feeling of hating yourself for being a degenerate NEET who always fucks things up, just like you. Whether that's through artists like Sewerslvt who wallow in their feelings, or through artists like Goreshit who often tend to find the fun, crazy, hopeful moments in it all, Breakcore has something to offer for every internet loser, just like you. Thanks for having me on here, Blink, and I wish your channel the best. Everyone please campaign the government to stop looking at racetams and afenils and stop trying to revise the scheduled substance list so that they do not become illegal. And so that you can get some awesome content at an accelerated rate from all of us YouTubers who all do them. Listen, let's not lie to ourselves here. You think that PewDiePie can make one video? I digress. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and suck my fucking nuts. You guys all suck.
Yeah, and what they mean to say is that they're grateful that you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Massive thanks to Triple Beppo for their invaluable information. They've actually taught me a ton more than I was expecting to learn. But thanks again for watching. You guys all fucking suck, and I'll see you. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you. I love you all. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I already said it now. I love you. See you tomorrow.